Just arrived at my friend Andrew's place, and we're over here at his barn, which has some of my cars stored inside. Just gotta put this gate up to make sure that the horses don't come through. So here we are. This is actually my friend Andrew's old Ford F-150 pickup truck that he restored quite some time ago. Very nice and clean. Got some Simmons wheels sitting over here that belong to the number 5 car. Here is the Wild Strawberry. And here is what we're here for today. DECH number 5. Looks like we got one flat tire. It's not too big of a deal, as I have these ROH wheels sitting here ready to go, and hopefully we can get this thing on the road and running. One cool car that's sitting here underneath this cover, and I'll just lift that up, is actually the 92 AC Schnitzer build, or one of the original infamous project cars. Got to move out Andrew's truck. He swears that I pumped the gas pedal twice and turned the key, and this thing is just going to fire right up. So let's see what happens so we can make some room in here. Well, it definitely took more than 2 pumps of the gas pedal, but it did definitely fire right up. Now we'll move on to Old Strawberry here. So here we go. The lovely, filthy engine bay of DECH number 5. 347 stroker, GT40 intakes, Willwood master cylinder for the brakes. Car is very dirty from sitting here, but we'll definitely get a much closer look once we get a battery in here, can get things running. Alright, so this might not be as easy as originally planned. Definitely still drawing a lot, and definitely not cranking anything over. Maybe I'll pull the red car in and we'll try a boost as well. starter is clicking, it's trying to engage, but it's definitely not enough to be rolling the motor over. So it's definitely not as an easy task as we were planning. However, nothing ever is sometimes. So anyways, all we can do is stop talking about it and get to work and see what the issue is. So gonna go through some of the wiring, might have to jack it up and access the starter and see what's going on there. And hopefully we can get this thing fired up. All right guys, car is jacked up. I am going to pull the starter out and replace the wiring to the starter, the ground terminals from the battery, and hopefully we can get this thing running. I did notice that the ground wasn't even grounded to the normal location. They had it on a bolt down here where the power steering pump bracket is. So figure it's probably best just to replace all those parts. Would have been nice to at least get it running, but I'm going to be honest with you, if I got it running I probably just would have left it that way. Alright guys, so after closer inspection, this car actually has an aftermarket oil pan on it, and that oil pan actually, and I'm going to try and show you guys here, is massive and red, but more importantly massive. You can see how wide it is here across this section, and this is actually going to keep me from getting the starter out from underneath the car. Normally one of the starter bolts is right here, there's one on the top of the starter, and you can actually maneuver the starter out from this area. This is actually the DECH G-load brace underneath the car here, and with this oil pan, I don't think this starter will actually clear, which means it needs to come out from the top side, which unfortunately means most likely having to drop this exhaust down. So I'm gonna have to investigate this a little bit more. This is definitely one of those times where a small job turns into an extremely large one. So this is kind of your sneak peek underneath the side of this car, seeing a little bit of the surface rust and the corrosion and whatnot. The main things that we're going to have to look at are going to be the actual frame rails up in here, and then obviously some of the floor pans and whatnot, some of these areas here. It's not horrible, but until things are fully exposed, really not going to know what we're working with. So anyways, that is our scenario for now. Gonna have to take one of those moments and just like a thought, a little rest, have a sip of water, and think about the best way of approaching this. Like I said, this is one of those times where you thought something small and simple just turned into an extremely large project. So the key is to not get demotivated, stay motivated, and knowing that once this thing is actually started up and running, how exciting it's going to be to take it for that first drive down the street. Day 2 here out at my friend Andrew's place. I was actually hoping to start working on my power window conversion on the 93 silver DECH coupe. However, I quickly realized that I'd forgot my wallet here at Andrew's last night when I was rolling around on the ground trying to sort out stuff with the starter on the number 5 car. I had emptied out my pockets, and one of those key items was my wallet. So that's sitting inside the car here in the barn. So changed things up, decided to come straight out here. Got some new cables made up last night from my good friend Mike. He's big into car audio, so he has an abundance of cables, connectors, terminals, all those types of things. So these, you know, the colors aren't the most traditional, i.e. this nice blue one here. However, it's function over form at this stage to try and get the car running. Providing we can do that, that's all that matters. So If not, then it means that we're gonna have to investigate and maybe pull that starter out and go from there. So anyways, let's not waste any more time. Let's get in there and see if we can't get this thing running. All right guys, so here we are back at the car. Again, here's our new battery terminals. So essentially what we need to do is run the main terminal, the power one, that hooks up to the positive side of your battery. So that one will go on the hot side of the solenoid, and then we will run this new lovely blue wire that will go on the engaging side of the solenoid down to the starter, and then we will also install the black wire, which is the ground terminal. And they had this installed, if you remember, down here on this power steering bracket. We're going to install it on the proper bracket down here next to where the oil pressure sending unit is, and hopefully that will do it. Trying to crank this car yesterday killed the battery that I had borrowed out of Andrew's truck here, so I'll probably have to pull battery out of the Wild Strawberry car, and hopefully it'll have enough juice to crank this thing over and hopefully get it going. So let's get started and tear into this thing and hopefully get everything going. All right, so I've got the main terminals hooked back up to the solenoid and the ground on the block respectively, hooked up the main wire that goes from the switch side of the solenoid, and now I just need to run that wire up to the starter and fight to get that connection on because it's very tight in there. I, for whatever reason, thought that this car had a mini starter that was installed with it. I'm actually wondering if the previous owner, who although he said he fixed the starting issue, I don't think he actually installed that starter. And the reason why I'm skeptical is because when this car was on Bring a Trailer and I was bidding on the car, he actually had a picture of a brand new high torque mini starter in a box that was supposed to get installed on the car, and it never did. So maybe it's because I didn't win that auction and a year went by of us going back and forth and negotiating. Maybe he just decided not to install it. Maybe I'm just dreaming this up. I'm gonna have to go back. I know that the auction is still actually, or the ended auction is still on the Bring a Trailer website. So I'm curious, and I'm going to go back and check and see, because the starter on this car actually looks fairly new. The casing is all fresh black. You can still see the sticker on it, so it has been replaced. So anyways, we'll carry on. We will hook up this cable, grab a fresh battery, and see what happens. So this is always fun when you're trying to feed a bolt through an area and you don't want your bolt to fall out, because then obviously it falls on the ground or down in the frame rail and you need to try and find it. So a quick trick that I do is I actually put a piece of electrical tape over the head of the bolt and then stuff it in the socket like that, and that way your bolt should stay put. So hopefully I can get this fed through and get this started through the eyelet of the cable and into the starter bracket. So Wish me luck. Everything's going fairly smooth so far this morning. Almost too smooth, but let's see what happens. All right, guys, road trip to the cars right over here. Essentially going to take the battery out of the strawberry car, and hopefully it'll have enough juice to get things going. Poor car is filthy. We'll have to, oh, we need some keys. Unfortunately, we didn't get the car far enough away from the other wall, so gotta do passenger side entry. All right, fuel pump's on. I'm actually just gonna try and reach my leg across here. I have no idea how well or not well this is filming right now, but here goes nothing.